Let's get this thing started here. Um, for you guys that don't know, Michael grew up in Redmond, Washington. I'll let him do most of the explaining, but went to high school out there and ended up going to play college baseball at Oregon State. And while he was there, was selected to be on the collegiate national team. I think he was a Golden Spikes finalist. I don't think he pulled that one off. Um, then he went on and was drafted by the Mets, I think 10th overall, and MLB All-Star. Played in all three of those World Series, Little League, um, college, and MLB. So hopefully, has some things that a couple of you guys can to take home and use in practice or games going forward in the spring of 2021. We'll let Michael talk for a minute, and then we're going to dig into some questions.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Michael, good friend of Cavin's from back then in college back at Oregon State. I'm really excited to be here to be able to talk to you guys a little bit. I'm sorry I couldn't come out there and see you guys in person. You know, of course, everybody knows it's a little harder to do that these days, but it's gonna be good to talk to you guys for a little bit, answer some questions, and you know, have a good time tonight.
Right on. It's gonna start this one off with just a little hitting question. You know, obviously you're one of the better hitters in the big leagues right now, and you know, I'm honestly I don't know the answer to this question. You know, when did you start feeling like you were, you know, the hitter that you become today? You know, in college you really got to go in that first spring, start the first game of the year, your freshman year. Had a little bit of some problems in the fall, and then kind of took off from there. What do you you know, did you always feel like that hitter in youth in college or youth in high school, or did you make an adjustment during that fall or that winter? You know, when did that start for you?
Yeah, it's always a good question. You know what? I think it came in waves. I think it was, you know, I had some success in Little League, obviously playing in the Little League World Series and making the All-Star teams and doing all that stuff. Playing up a league or playing up an age group, you know, I was able to do that when I was a lot smaller than a lot of the other players. And, you know, so the confidence kind of started right there in Little League. Then I kind of, you know, I started getting into other sports. I played football a lot growing up, and, you know, which was a great thing for me. It taught me different ways to be an athlete, you know, help get my body physically ready to play baseball, you know, as I was getting older. But, you know, it kind of came in waves. In high school, I wasn't, you know, all league, all everything. I was kind of just, you know, a good athlete out there in the baseball field. I didn't have any numbers that wowed anybody. I didn't get drafted out of high school. And I was lucky enough to play well in front of some Oregon State scouts or coaches, you know, at that time. And so once I made it to college, and as Cav said, I mean, he was being nice. It was a really, really bad fall of my freshman year. You know, I must have hit a $150 with, you know, leading the team in strikeouts. And it was kind of my starting position to lose, and I lost it. You know, I lost it to a guy who came from JUCO, I think, right, Cav? And
Yep.
who played great. And, you know, so I lost that job. And I remember thinking, you know, wondering if baseball was the right sport for me at that time. And, you know, I had guys like Cav at the time who kind of took me under their wing. As funny as that is for me to say right now, with him being one of my best buddies. But, you know, I mean, you need those guys to kind of, you know, take you under their wing and just remind you of, you know, about what kind of player that you are. You know, so I worked hard at it in college. You know, I stuck with it. I went home the winter, worked on my swing, came back. And when I got the opportunity in the spring, just kind of took off. And then I think that confidence just kept building. My relationship with my teammates kept getting better. And really what I think changed for me in college was it was all about winning. And, I've kind of never forgot that. And every at bat that you go up there is an at bat that you're trying to win. And that's the only thing you're thinking about. And that for me was kind of my transformation in college, and kind of never looked back from there.
Nice. I remember when first got there, we took BP first, and I knew you were third baseman, and saw the swing. I was a little bit worried, and went to ground balls, and I knew I was fine.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I was not a third baseman. They tried to make me a third baseman, but no.
All right. Next question. A bunch of little guys on here, some older guys. You were to give just a simple piece of advice for a youth or a high school hitter, things that you see, like maybe you got away from that made you successful and then you had to go back, is there any, piece of advice that you would give a youth or a high school guy that, is just trying to be a pure hitter?
Absolutely. I think I kind of touched on it earlier. For a while after I had shoulder surgery, I wanted to hit home runs again. I wanted to prove that my shoulder was fine. I wanted to hit, a bunch of home runs in the big leagues. And I got too wrapped up in all that launch angle stuff and, get the ball in the air. And that was never my swing. And like I said before, what made me great was I was going to beat you all over the field. I'm just going to win. I'm going to win the at bat. And you have to train that. You have to train that in the cage. You can't be thinking about what can I do to get this pitch in the air. It's something that we also learned at Oregon State, that those home runs should be accidental, the product of a really good swing, the product of being ready to, beat the pitcher on that particular pitch. And, so over the past year or so, or 2 years, I've tried to get back to, low line drives in the cage, not low, but that top corner of the cage, in the back of the cage, and build that swing that you're not clipping the ball, you're not clipping underneath it and it's popping up in the air. You're absolutely squaring the ball up, and you're putting it on a nice trajectory into the back of the cage, and being able to spray the ball all over the field. In my batting practice, I'm not looking to hit home runs. I'm trying to be able to hit line drives all over the field. And, that's what's worked for me. And that's what's brought me back to being, able to hit for power and then hit for average also.
I think that's probably one of the best things that you just said. Those home runs are normally pitched rather than tried to
exactly
create. All right, next one. As a baseball player or a hitter, was that the biggest influence on you as what you feel like has catapulted you to be, the baseball player that you are today? If there's two people, did it start at youth? Did it happen?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably two people. My dad, obviously. My dad has always been, from 4 years old, he's always had the energy to get out there and play wiffle ball with me, throw me pop flies, just teach me the game, teach me how to compete. Obviously I think a lot of us feel the same way. Those dads, if there's any dads on here, you guys are our heroes, and just to always be there and be available to play. That's the biggest thing that you can do for a kid. So I owe everything to my dad. And then the other guy is probably, was my biggest motivator through college, and that's Coach Casey, which I know you guys are going to get a chance to talk to him on Wednesday, maybe Wednesday, Cav?
Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be a treat for you guys. I don't even know, I think he's not as grouchy and mean as he used to be, I hear. So I don't know what you guys are going to get from him, but he and Cav will tell you he had this way of motivating you. You kind of didn't like him at the time, but once you leave, you realize you learn, all the lessons that you learned from him, just on how to play a sport, how to go to school, how to really do anything. It all kind of goes hand in hand with how you live your life. So I'm excited for you guys to get to talk to him.
Yeah, he's an interesting one. He's awesome. Next one. If you had two things you had to pick out about what makes you successful as a hitter, what would those two things be, or one?
Well, I think we kind of talked about the first one. The way you work in the cage is going to translate on the field. I will say you'll never see a big leaguer taking huge, massive, swings in the cage where they're falling over themselves, and maybe you'll see it every once in a while when guys are trying to get pumped up for the game. But when guys are trying to work on their craft, they're focused and they're taking controlled swings, and so that's one of the things. And then I guess the other would probably be one of the best pieces of advice that I've gotten was from Coach Casey, and that hitting is all attitude. You have to be ready to fight when you're going up to the plate. That's just what I've learned, especially in the big leagues. If you don't have the right attitude at the plate, you have no chance. If you're thinking, shoot, I don't feel good up here, messing with your hands or messing with your stride or messing with some mechanics, you already have no shot. And, the pitcher hasn't even thrown the ball yet. So you have to have an attitude at the plate. And that's the biggest thing that, one of the biggest things that I've learned.
Hey, just to touch on one of the other things that you said, you talked about the controlled swings and how big leaguers take BP. I feel like, you see all the time with some of the high school guys or whatever, they'll either be falling over after every swing or they come out of the cage breathing heavy. If you're taking, the right swing, your feet should stay in the same place, and you shouldn't be leaving the cage breathing too heavy. It shouldn't be a workout.
Yeah, exactly. It should be, if you're breathing heavy, you should take a break, take a step back and slow down and shorten your rounds, excuse me. And, just take a look at the work you're doing, because hitting should not be an aerobic exercise, when you're working in the cage. You do that when you work out, when you train the movements that you want to train in your swing, sure. Really get after it. But to me, you shouldn't be ever out of breath when you're working in the cage.
All right, next one's just kind of a one I'm curious about, I guess. Of all three World Series, I don't think I've ever even talked to you about this, especially the Little League one. Which one was the most memorable, or can you even pick?
I don't even know if I can pick. I mean, I do say all the time that I would go back to the College World Series in a second, just because, and I kind of talked about it earlier. College is where, I believe is the purest form of baseball. When you get to pro ball, and Kevin's experienced a little bit of this, it's not about winning. Until you make it to the big leagues, and even for some teams, as you'll see, they're not trying to win; they're trying to make money. And that's for only a few teams in the major leagues, but it becomes a business. And not so much when you make it to the World Series, then it's all about winning. When you get to the playoffs, when you're in the hunt, it's all about winning, and that's fun. That's great baseball. But when you go to a good college that has a chance to win, that is, the best way to play the game. And it's really the only way you should play the game. Even if the people and players around you aren't worried about winning, that doesn't mean that you can't have that attitude out there.
Right on. All right. Hey, just maybe a couple more here. Give us a little short story of how this played out for you. I know there's like, and I know I talked to you about this for sure. When growing up, you've seen the guys on TV. You're playing with some of the guys you saw on TV. You got a chance to play with, or at least against, some of your Mariner heroes. You grew up a Mariner fan. Um, what was that road like to you? How did that play out?
Oh man, I know well, I mean, I guess I played with Bartolo Colon, and I remember watching him throw, and um, I've played with a lot of, well, David Wright, obviously. That's another one that, was poster on the wall, Captain America, and playing on the collegiate national team. You wanted to be like David Wright, who's that, Olympics hero. And, um, you know, I think those that, that's what when you finally make it to the big leagues, um, all those dreams kind of come true and everything becomes surreal for that time that you're up there for the first time. And um, I don't even know if I answered your question. What was the original question?
Just trying to let these, like, some of these kids obviously had the same dreams that you and I had, and obviously yours came true.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
how did it play out as far as being a youth guy to the high school guy? I mean, you played a bunch of football in college, so I don't know, like, did you think that you were a baseball player in high school, or did you have to figure that out later? When did Oregon State come along, and how?
Um, well, yeah. So I kind of split my time, baseball and football, and I got to play in the Little League World Series. So I had I had that experience. I was like, this is cool. I could play baseball on TV for a living. So I had that dream, but then I grew up as a football player. My dad played collegiate football. So, it kind of felt like he was pushing me in that direction. Um, and then, I just stopped growing, to be honest. I mean, I wasn't going to be big enough. I wasn't fast enough to play football. And I love both the sports equally. And, I could have gone with either one of them. My dream was just to be a professional athlete at some level. And so everything I did, to get good grades in school so I could get into a good college or, to pursue my dreams. And I think that was the motivating force. It didn't matter which way it went. I wanted to do whatever sport I was playing at the highest level. Oregon State came in at, during my junior year. And once I started getting a lot more looks as a baseball player, then, we just kind of went that direction. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure I know that there will be some kids on this call. Hopefully I get to play against you in the big leagues. I hope I'm sticking around long enough for that, but you'll have to come up to me and let me know that you were on this Zoom call, because I know, there's going to be some big leaguers in this group for sure.
Very nice. Last question from me here. Share, who's the best collegiate guy you've ever hit with, or played with, or played against, and who's the best professional guy thus far?
That's a good question. Trying to think. I mean, I guess other than you, Kevin, right?
Exactly. That was the correct answer. That's what
Exactly.
I was fishing for.
That's the correct. Okay. I'd say maybe Trey Turner. Trey Turner, I played with him on one of those collegiate national teams. And obviously he's turned into a, all-world shortstop for the Nationals, and World Series champion. And best player I played against, I don't know, probably Juan Soto from the Nationals. That guy's unbelievable. I got to play against Mike Trout also for 3 games, which was like, it's one of the first times I was starstruck in the big leagues. He hit like 4 doubles off the top of the wall. He's just it's always incredible when you get to play on the field against, probably some Hall of Famers, and, you got to try to compete with them.
All right. Well, that's all I got. We definitely appreciate you staying on here, and let you go here. But if you got a couple of things to say before you take off, now's the time.
I think I've spewed out just about as much knowledge as I have in my head. There's not a whole lot, else that, that there is to know about me. It's just, I guess I'll just end it with this. It's it's easy to say that I had, I had athletic parents, and I had, I had pretty much everything I needed, in order to be on the right teams, and just be set up for success. And I think that helps a lot. It's definitely not lost on me that I was very fortunate growing up, but the biggest thing, and one of the biggest things that my dad and Coach Casey taught, and you'll hear it throughout your entire career, I'm sure you've heard it from Kevin, is that there's absolutely no substitute for hard work. You can have everything handed to you. You can have every opportunity handed to you, but eventually your luck will run out, and all that you have left is the work that you put in. Your skill will be topped by somebody else. Somebody else is gonna be more talented than you, but you can control the way that you work, how hard you work, how focused you work, and I think that brought my game to another level. Doing things like, I don't know if you know this, Kevin and I used to live together, and there'd be nights our junior year that I couldn't sleep, and I used to run to the cages.
I
used
remember
to just
that.
get up at 1 a.m. and run to the cages and swing there, run back. And, I just couldn't sleep. It was my draft year, and we were playing well, and, just stuff like that. And, I still think about that, and I still try to push myself in that way, because I know that, if I'm not doing it, somebody's going to pass me. There's too many good players like you guys coming up, working hard and getting better every day. We all need to try to stay a step ahead of you guys. So that's the note that I'll leave you guys with.
That was awesome. Yeah, you remember the night? I think it was a Saturday night in a college town, and you were running. Everyone was wearing you out. Everyone's supposed to be out, and you're getting a jog.
Yeah, I came back in to have a protein shake, and you guys are all giving me crap. But we had a good time too. So,
yeah.
So.
All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for coming on here, Mike. Hope you guys learned some stuff here, and we'll see you next year, hopefully in the house.
Yeah. Hopefully, I get to come out there and see the facility. I haven't been out there yet, but I hope to see you guys in person and share a little bit more.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. See you later.
All righty.